Restream for my visual.
Do you know what? Your computer looks very new.
I don't want kids touching it.
Do you know? As you can see.
It's been 2-3 years.
That's 2 or 3 years old.
Yeah.
This is less than that.
Do you use ChatGPT at all?
Got your one?
ChatGPT.
I love it.
List all the uses of a shoe. Shoestring. Ready? Call it Charlie.
Pretty good, man.
Just ChatGPT is such a mouthful. Come on, move it. There we go.
Does it talk to us?
And it then becomes so much about the we're trying to
Wow. There's so many AIs now you can do stuff with.
Word of wisdom moment.
Secure objects. I mean,
With a shoestring.
we say shoestring and use it in a negative, but small budget.
Yeah, exactly.
Makeshift clothesline.
Oh, mate, you need to bring that shoestring to your session. I want to have pictures, I want to have a video. To replace with your screen. I don't feel pressure.
Don't feel pressured to like deliver.
Yeah,
have to now.
he told me, 'cause this is my first one, like, everyone's telling me, oh, no, don't worry about it, nobody does a PowerPoint. Literally everybody does
No,
it.
what Becky said was mainly only Python, Matt Beam and Hattenberg do it. And I don't normally do it.
Oh, play Cat's Cradle.
It's quite fun.
I'm going to bring a shoestring is what I'm looking at. I'm going to talk about all the uses of a shoestring.
What's Cat's Cradle?
Cat's Cradle, like, yeah. Here. To mark a trail. play
To
Cat's
mark a
Cradle.
trail?
To make a toy.
How can you make a toy with a shoestring?
Well, I don't know, Bunny. How can you do vandalism with a very small finger? Let me tell you.
Okay.
Hey everyone, I'm going to go on and, I don't think I should take too long, but I'll go on and try to keep a little bit on target, if that's all right.
Pull them back, Jim.
All right.
Pull them back. Pull them in. So come sit down.
Is it okay? Is that weird?
Do whatever you want to do.
Nope, go for it.
It would take a whole hair adjustment. And
I know.
we don't have time for that.
I was with you, Julia. I held it.
Yeah, oh, you did
You
too.
can also rest it.
I just need a one for
I
the
had it rested
ladies.
pointing.
Just a
I don't
one.
think it's up enough.
We're going to put it on our vision list. Oh, she heard my voice. She heard my voice. We're tight. She hears my voice. Baby girl. Okay. Well, I'm going to just talk briefly on internships, just kind of update on where we are in the conversation with that. I've had conversations with a lot of you about your experience in internships. If there's anyone who has had an experience with internships they want to further share, I'd love to hear it, because we're just going to gather from everyone's experience and to create our whole new thing. And kind of the summary we've come to so far is that, oh my goodness. the experience we've come to so far is that we're going to create a custom situation for ourselves because there's no one thing that's going to fit as we know it right now. So what we're going to do is we're going to create we have a committee going. So Melanie and Jerry have had a lot of experience with Emerge internship programs. So Melanie is going to be on the team, and Barney and Becky have a lot of experience with UK internship. And we're going to have a committee, an internship committee, where we are going to take each situation as it comes, but still have a few guidelines within that. So we, of course, are going to have to develop an application for internships, and Melanie is like an expert at that. All of the applications, she sent me forms and copies of the internship applications they've done with Emerge, and they're amazing. So I feel like we could just adapt them slightly to what we need for Go Church and discuss that. And as we get those, we'll probably collaborate with that in our committee. What do we call it? What is it? What's the word for committee? Is it?
It's scary.
Task force. Thank you. That's so much better. Thank you. Sorry, I didn't get that language right. Task force. And then we'll, of course, present those to you all for approval as well. But we'll come up with an application. I loved, Melanie, on your Emerge forms, how clear the expectations were, the guidelines, even financial expectations, the give and take expectations were very clear, the mission of it, the purpose, all of that. I thought it was really good. So I'd love to formulate our language for that and make our own application. But basically, we're going to probably, as it looks right now, provide 3 time limits people can apply for it. It will all depend on their situation. So 3 months internship, if someone's coming from out of the country, a 6-month internship, and a 1-year internship, which would involve people more being embedded into our culture. And so the hours for each of those would differ because someone obviously who's here for short-term time, they would need to probably put in more hours a week. But then someone who's here for a year has to pace themselves. So we've got it again would be completely subject to the individual situation. Also, the funding for it, this is going to have to be just something that's completely self-funded by the person. They'll have to raise their own funds. It's just going to have to be very clear up front, the financial expectations and give and take, which we will also make clear in the application. And then we can also run all of that. Once we've kind of gone through the application, we'll present that to everyone for feedback on how everyone feels about that. The other thought now is that we're just, because we had the thought that when an intern comes and helps serve, that maybe they could rotate between all the campuses. But that also has so many other nuances and moving parts that this is the thought currently. Again, very welcome for feedback on this, is that there would be a rotation of intake. So when someone applies and say that Manchester Church gets that intern, that then the next intern would be for another church, and basically we take turns with each internship application as they're received and rotate through the churches. So Liverpool gets the next intern and Bradford gets the next intern, and then we need to talk about, is Beirut going to be in our mix, or are they going to be, once we move countries, is that a separate mix? So I'm gonna make a list of things, of action items and questions that we can discuss here at the end and get a little bit of feedback from. I'm going to add those to it. So when an intern is assigned to a campus, when we've taken in their application and our task force has maybe even done the interview and decided that their skill set is best set for Manchester, and we've approved that with you guys, then the campus pastors and wife would be the ones now assigned to mentor that intern. So it would require, and I'm proposing everything, this is all up for discussion, would require either a weekly or bi-weekly check-in with the intern, where they would be coached or mentored or doing maybe even a quarterly, depending on their time here, in evaluation. But basically, we're constantly checking in with the intern. Time limit to be decided. And then also housing situation would be, also a lot of it would be provided if we have something for them. We know, Becky and I talked about if it's a single girl, then we have a spare room, they have a spare room. There's a place we could house that. But if it's a different situation, it would be a totally different scenario. So housing will also have to be a conversation as someone applies and goes forward. One point being that the purpose of the internships would have to be made very clear in the application, because we never want someone to come and serve with us who feels used or abused by our service of them. Hey, you come, raise money, come to us, and then, you know, we take from you. And we want to make very clear how we are also going to add to their lives and give back to them.
Good.
So we are going to make sure that they receive the ministry training that's on what are their expectations of us? What can we give back to them?
Yeah.
And then, so we need to ask the question, one question, how much are we willing to give? Are we willing to give them if someone's here for a year, do they get a ministry position? Or what do we don't have to give that, but we do need to ask the question of ourselves, what are we willing to give them in exchange for what they're giving to us? It's just a conversation to have.
Yeah.
And we want to add to them as they add to us. Are we going to have video training for these interns? That would be a great thing, I think, in the future to onboard. All of our interns have a video training process of videos they have to go through and things like that.
That's good.
So we want to, and we also want to make sure we have a practical and ministry side to every internship.
Yeah.
So those are thoughts about the purpose. And then the starting point for an action item, I think after we develop, the first action item would be develop an application, which I would hope that we can do in between now and the next time we all gather. And if that application is approved, then put together a packet that we can send to churches. So that's another question is, do we go and send these to all churches? Or are we going to be interfering with other things? Because we all need people in different scenarios. So we need to specify who are we going to invite to apply, or are we just going to send this to everybody? Are we going to prepare packets, and anytime we're at U.S. churches, we're giving them out? And if we, of course, are we going to send them to churches here in the UK, and that kind of thing? So there's a lot of questions asked about how we're going to provide this. We'll have it. We get in that packet. We have a letter to pastors, the application, and information about this internship. Things to decide along with that visa. There's a lot of things that I don't know about the visa process. We'll have to get advice on that will require, they will adjust the time limits with the interns. And then also we need to pre-plan costs for people to what they're going to have to pay. So what are we going to pay for? What are they going to pay for? Yeah, we're going to have to come up with some specific numbers. So there's a lot of questions to ask. And this, basically, I just wanted to introduce this thought. That's honestly all the information I'm throwing at you really quick, because I'm going to write a bunch of things that you can discuss at your tables, and we'll get some feedback for that at the end. But all of this is going to, I think it's exciting. It's going to be exciting that we have the potential and the system set up where we can onboard people into our churches and helping us, and possibly train up future leaders for our churches. If we can get people from our areas, that would be the most powerful way to use this tool. To raise up people even in our own churches would be really exciting. But the question we also, it kind of is the theme going along with all this, is how are we getting ready for this to happen? If an intern came in today and said, I would like to serve with you for a year, would we have a place for them? Would we be ready to intake somebody like that? If someone, the next time you're in the States and someone says, God put you on my heart, how can I serve you? Do we have a place for that? So whatever we need to do to get ready for that, let's start doing it now. Because we still have some things to do. We have paperwork to prepare. We have applications to do. We have packets to prepare. But when we have those out, we already need to be ready as a group. That we have our personal, like you guys said, if someone's going to be living with us, how's my family life to have someone come into my home? Or just all of the different aspects. And so that even is a question, what in ourselves do we need to prepare so that the minute the first application comes in, we're ready to take it. We're not all having to get ourselves ready for this kind of thing. So I'm going to write these questions up there, action items, and we're going to put some action items on the board and also the questions to discuss. And let's say, okay, let me see here. See if we can do it in 5 minutes and then bring it in 5 minutes. I'll write some things down. Okay, so questions would be, how did we prepare ourselves? Oh, thank you. Okay, let's see. Who pays for what? The cost thing has so many questions. So are we asking the questions we need to ask? Tell me if we need to be asking other questions. How do different nations require different processes? So do we go with Beirut? Do we share some interns with Beirut, or do we each have our own track because different nations require so many different things? Do we combine? I guess that's the question. Combine with different nations. Let's see. Okay. What are some other questions we can ask? I should have written them down as we were doing it. What can we add to them? The two-way street question. What do we add to them, and what can they add to us? And okay, what needs to be in an application? Okay, so those are some starting questions, and let me know your thoughts on some of those and any other things that you have thoughts on. Come back in 5 minutes.
Okay, so how can we compare ourselves?
20 years ago.
John McKay, sorry. How can we compare? These are all to you.
Oh, yeah, all of them, yeah.
Just can't go for the key thing is that you don't say your work which creates problems.
So, okay.
Okay.
How can we compare ourselves?
Whatever. If you get asked questions, well,
This is work, wisdom, input and insight, am I right?
very easy to do.
Yeah, I don't know what I'm saying either, really.
You've got other places to stay. You come in as a tier,
Okay, so what? How can we compare ourselves with interns?
I'm just trying to think before we even answer these.
yeah. So tier 5 is the way to bring in the 6 months per year is the simplest way to do it. It's reasonable.
Was that your American?
Yeah, that was abysmal.
Was it? Oh, I just thought it was weird.
I had to go straight.
A weird accent, it was a weird
I listened to the radio, ready? Oi, what's the brickwork, fella? That's where I get up. Well, I only listen to the radio, so I just repeat what they say. And if they don't talk
what
anymore,
words they were.
right? Yeah, it is.
I don't even know what words you
You know,
just
up in Bradford, I'd have like 16 guys coming over and talking to me.
said. Yeah, that's it. Nothing else makes sense.
So tier 5 is the
a need, like a job.
we have to work hard to keep losing it. Just at the point where we
Things that we need them to do.
we use it consistently.
Right.
If we used it each year, there wouldn't be a problem. So we had a number of people come in. Tier 2 is a minister of religion who needs ordained is a higher level. This is focus.
Not everyone. Not everyone will have that.
I already said that. Our experience So Eva is on a tier 5 visa, but Getulio is on a tier 2.
Something like that, eh?
We might need to help them with the English thing.
So we're looking long term. tier 5 person has to leave him.
It's because I'm teaching Emily how to say it, because every time we go to nursery, there's a house with scaffolding. There's scaffolding and she can't pronounce it, so I'm
The brickwork.
What?
This needs to be tailored.
Okay, what about our thoughts on cost?
Well, certain shifts need to be tailored to
They pay it all, we don't
3
pay
months, 6 months, or 2.
At least.
They need to fund every project they're involved in to allow them to start an outreach event, and they need to fund that. The Millionaires Internship.
Looking around. How many of us would not be here?
Yeah, but we're not the interns, we're the bosses.
If I wasn't into
Yeah, but you're an intern, so I don't need to be a millionaire.
2, which gives him much longer future possibilities. So again, someone's proved himself.
Can you imagine giving them tasks?
Let's
Now you all have to preach, and then
that's the other thing is a lot harder,
no, but we'd have fun.
more expensive,
Now go and outreach on the streets.
and more expensive in coming over requirements in terms of funding, NHS, payments, etc.
Just that, hopefully, and the Holy Spirit.
So how does, okay then, how does all that tie into
To be of their own.
prepping on the side?
No, we've moved us on to costs.
Yes. So that 6-month program, they need to literally get on that plane.
Yeah.
No, that's good. That's good.
We have to have one of the organizers.
Because otherwise you're going to wreck the future.
Years ago, we did forefront.
Because they literally
No, because the one we had come over had crushed on Heather Pond,
Yes, I remember.
and he was not the quality.
And it wasn't easy to deal with that situation.
I was here before.
So there's 2 aspects to that, and Claire will correct me in a second. Because if you are an intern in the UK, first thing I call
It's just that point in the day.
is you must pay minimum wage.
Yeah.
This is our family law. That's the funding. We need the Chinese to be free. Whilst we're working.
So I think there needs to be an element of self.
Yeah.
So I think maybe to like would cover expenses.
Like you would in a paid staff. In the ideal world.
So if I was in hygiene,
Have to get as a boss.
But like if someone is not just the base, but you're sending them once a week to Liverpool to do go play, we need to be able to cover that cost.
Yeah.
Please send us this. We need people like that.
Okay, next one. What's that next one? Something
Thoughts on who pays for what?
Okay.
So we just
Cost side of things, the other thing we need to factor into is are we providing
Minimum wage.
minimum wage? We provide
But even that is based on age.
I think they pay. I think it's part of their finances.
Apprentice.
So you pay like 250 amount, whatever it is.
No, my first time, so I came as an intern in 2007, and I had to raise everything, and it covered everything that I did.
So that makes sense because if you could, like if I was going to
Yeah,
say to
you gotta prove that.
I think it's easier for me to go and approve people to raise funds for
So maybe they're 20 hours and 20 hours of interning and training.
See, when I was it was covered the cycle year, but it was labelled as an internship year to the rest of the church, not to the students, but to the rest of the church, which is what I enjoyed. We got paid, but we got paid by the church. But outwards, we had maybe what? We're talking about money. But we had housing provided, and then we had £120 a month. So it covered your food and that was it. Like nothing else was covered. But because we were also holy, we all put into the pots of the riches and the riches and the internship.
You would have to show that they turned up. So we would.
But I think that's because that's in country.
Yeah, I think if you, I think or a distinction between overseas and that. I think it's easier to say overseas.
When they came in,
I mean, they may be able to, but I think they're less likely to go to another church in the UK for an internship and less. I somebody might go to the message from
Churches our size, no.
It's a bit like a camera. I think it's different, but when it's like, why are you doing it it's kind of, and so then if somebody here in Manchester wants to do an internship with us, a gap year.
That's what it sounds like. I'm going to ask.
Is it that's an extracurricular? Oh no, is it different nations?
But it's different systems.
Different nations.
So he's saying, does Beirut flow in the same as us?
So in country, the church helps fund.
So is it something incredibly great?
That's the expectations, though, isn't it?
Or do it as like they're only doing 2 days for a second.
Do you know what they should
Just to add in, no other she's not going to do this question. It was a question she raised that hasn't put forward.
It's like an education.
They are paying, exactly, so they're paying, like they go
So
the next day
the idea of not going to each church, which I'm totally
so
facing.
I'm paying my fee, and I get a lot from it. That
They don't have a
we should have a good term in it.
Visit.
they need to
That's for the UK.
Yeah.
Okay.
So you're to demonstrate that you did slave labour.
Yep.
That's what the idea is. If you understand protection is that you don't abuse people. You're providing something of value to the
What do you mean like on a Sunday?
not just them providing
Because but I'm just thinking, if someone's here for 3 months and they're in Manchester, and you're saying and we say once a month they have to go on a Sunday. So you're like January they're in Manchester because they've arrived. February at least one. Do you know what I mean? It takes out time quickly on the shorter ones.
Yeah, well, that's what I'm saying. Because we relatives at the time here, I just think even if they just came over and helped out on John Way, came out and helped out with an outreach event, or even came to Sunday or something. But for the perspective, the point being is that how do you give somebody a flavour, or it becomes a thing where you go, they have to visit at least one other church during this time. So they maybe don't get to every conference, but they get. So they're based in Manchester.
They might be learning graphics design, they might be worship, and they're learning what adds to
Children, especially if that's their desire. Art.
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And that's not a gray area. That's very acceptable.
Yeah.
Well, they haven't said it. They haven't said it.
We had issues because she wanted to wear shorts yesterday, and we had attitude the whole way to school. Like, what's on? Nothing. Because mom said no to shorts.
There was a challenge dropped off at primary school today, which is I almost turned around with your grade.
I even see. I'm even wincing at that because actually that's much more of a volunteer position than an intern.
I don't want to keep my jumper on.
Yeah,
That's where you're like,
No?
which is
And she's like, oh, I'm going to do there. I'll go now.
more of it. Well,
On the
interns
way,
are
and
much
I
more of
call
a
it real slow in my
program
home.
as a volunteer.
I do that.
Oh, yeah. Give me attitude. She's just like,
I'm not surprised she's giving you that.
I don't get after the attitude. I think something that I said to talk to Julie about this was that, like, you know, when I came here, it was just throw me to get into everything. But you know, if we had them,
Not you guys, right? Your leadership.
Yeah, but
even the people who are there don't have enough to
we need
do
to actually provide
for the
6
whole week.
hours
So
of teaching.
do we look at saying, you know what, we want to develop a discipleship program. You know, work with, in conjunction with somebody to develop this and produce it, so that we can then take it and then share it around.
Yeah.
Consistently bringing training over for certain
That's what I'm saying.
hey, that fulfills the hours.
That's where you work. Like, say once a week, fortnight, that's counted as the hours. You know. So in the UK,
It's easier initially. I think once a framework is developed, it is easier in the UK.
You felt like you'd done something.
It's just
Internship's still going, that's why you don't get paid for it. Or, I mean, if you average out all the pay, like,
Done this in a different country. Fully funded.
yes. Well, you're
Anyway, okay, there's
There's two-way street.
the advertising.
That's important.
If you have like a test,
Worst case.
you just go in here.
What will we
Trying to prove it. They get
two-way street. What about the
require?
register though? What about the?
that's the different nations.
That's the different
Very rude, but I think that's
But there's another one, isn't there? Paid for.
you don't
Who pays for what? So that was it.
Yeah, above and board for artists.
Okay, right. So two-way street.
So that came from pregnancy when I said we were talking about like you go sometimes you can go somewhere and you just like they say you
Use
just
you
take
up and throw away your spiritual thoughts.
like literally, but like especially like
Almost.
he's still with us, so it's fine. But like especially like the generations coming after
What generation?
the woke generation. I taught him woke this morning. He now knows what woke means.
I didn't know it, but apparently everyone knows it. Yeah. No, apparently it's the alpha generation, but that's why it's that generation. Because
No.
And they were all public.
Anyway, so because people are gonna it's not just about what I can give, but actually
I like that.
so it's not just right. We need. Thanks for coming. We need you in this area, but actually, your calling is to do this. So we're going to align you with this, as well as doing what we need. We're going to align you to your calling is caretaking. So we're going to pick you.
As a church as a whole, what as a church as a whole, I think we're just like, oh, a body, and we shove people into, you know, a circle into a square hole.
We know this.
exactly.
The counter argument
Yes.
for your generation.
Yeah. One of the things that we were talking to Gleason Marina so much
There
about
was a bit too much
for someone to come from Brazil to the UK before they go to generation is quite important. Language skill. Reality
It just softens it a little bit. Yeah, like a wise old down. You can turn your head all the way.
Yeah.
She might have got some basics, but the immersion has changed everything.
I'm sorry.
But my point is,
Yeah, but in London, you were half the time, three-quarters of the time, still speaking Portuguese.
In your
So that
zone.
wasn't very much help.
Okay.
Most of the church were not allowed to speak Portuguese because Pastor was very heavy rule. It's a multicultural church, so we have to speak English all the time. However, out of the church,
Back to your motherland, yeah.
Just need to make sure.
Your shop that you go to, there's,
Yeah, no. Right, Barney is only here today.
Oh, yes, you're right. Okay.
So
Great.
we just need to make sure we get Barney.
We could cancel the rest of the. You could give me feedback later, or personally, if we can compile it all or talk about it later.
It needs about 3 hours.
No, I can go through it really quick. It's cool.
Would you prefer? We could do feedback on this later, unless, or do you want to do it now? Okay.
4:30,
Okay.
and then Barney.
Yeah. Would you like to summarize feedback from your table? Just kind of, so it's in the recording.
Oh, okay. What did we talk about? Oh, the big thing. So the big thing we were talking about were the visas, which Alan will feedback. You'll need to talk to him about. Long conversation. The other thing we were talking about was the difference between bringing interns in and having interns here. That in the UK it's a very fuzzy and grey area, and making sure that we're really clear on what an intern gets, because otherwise you have to pay your intern. Or is it like coming to a college where they have to pay us? So it's a whole big area. That's a whole big area. So we were just talking about that. The other thing I wanted to throw out is, as we grow, and even now, we could have interns from the UK going to Beirut. We could have interns from Beirut coming here. And so as we grow, we need to think not just about getting people in from outside, but, working within the family as well. So when we plant other churches, how are we working that?
Those are great. Those are all on action items, just on my piece of paper. I'm not going to take the time to write them down at the moment. Any feedback from your table?
So we went through a couple of things, but I think maybe the one that was spoken probably about the most was a two-way street, and that we are to really develop people in their calling, not just put them into a hole and just get them to serve where we have a hole, but actually developing them giftings, their gracings, but also stick them into places where we need things done, because it will develop a character. So it's a two-way, like you say, a two-way street of developing and stuff. And we're also talking about the finances of the thoughts on cost. And we were thinking that people from outside of the UK would probably be easier to be financed than people in the UK. Because if you were coming from, Mark said, if he went to Coventry, not many people would probably go, oh, I want to invest into you going Coventry. But if he went, I'm going to go to Zimbabwe, they'll be like, oh yeah, I want to give into you. So I think there's a different mindset. So I think in that, if people are coming from abroad, then they'll probably be more self-financed. But then looking at how we would host them and stuff and giving them money for that. But also if they were coming from the UK, looking at that and going, okay, do we say, come and work for us a couple of days a week, but also having to get a part-time job or something and that sort of stuff. Does someone want to add anything else?
I mean, almost like two separate applications for UK-based versus international-based.
The other thing we talked about was just about how we can prepare ourselves. So we're talking about actually getting people ready who can host and knowing who you can go to who could accommodate somebody, working out what jobs you want done in the sense of what areas are you going to want an intern to work, ensuring that we have equipment to use so that they can do the work when they get here, whether they've got their own equipment or not, they may not do. And supplying the tech side within that was some of the bits we got, and then we moved on to other areas.
Those are great. Those are great points. Yeah. And at our table, Matt and Julie have so much experience with this as well. They said they brought up a lot of good points about the way they intook people was a little bit more of like they first had they first filled out an inquiry application, so they didn't go through the whole thing, and then had a Zoom meeting. I liked that. It was a little bit more of an easy onboard, so you could. Yeah, it was a little bit more steps, so I'll look into that, and then also, of course, all the visa situations we'll have to ask about. So there's a lot of good thoughts raised. I'll try to take this over to the side and write some things down as far as action items we could talk about and summarize it. And we're going to be talking about that in the days and weeks to come. If anybody has more thoughts about it that you'd like to share as we develop this, I'd love to hear them. I'm excited to get it going forward. I believe this will be a blessing to all of you as we get it defined. The whole goal is that it is a blessing to you, that it grows your churches and grows these young people who are wanting to grow in their callings. So I'm excited that and believing that the right people will come to be drawn to this and that we'll be ready for them. Amen. Amen. Yes, please. Yeah.
One of the things I was also saying is, you know that question, are we ready for interns? And you're thinking about it, don't just think, have I got a hole that needs to be filled? Think, what strengths, how am I going to strengthen that intern? How is that intern going to benefit? What are we giving that intern? Do you see what I mean?
Yes, yeah. Amen. Amen. It's changing the heart of it. It might be the same thing, but if our hearts towards them are turned toward developing them, it'll have a discipleship nature that will really increase and bless them. So, amen. Thank you. Thank you guys. Oh, I probably should have turned that off. Sorry. Once this is done, I'll write some of these things over here. What a blessing.
What would you like? Oh, yes. This is his class. This. Yes, they do the Britney dance. Just not Britney. Thank you. There's a Britney
Yeah, we don't want to.
That was in my head the whole time I was up there. Oh, hello. Should tuck it.
Hey up.
Okay,
so awesome. Okay, so I'll be really as quick as I can. So we're going to move on to the digital library. So yeah, we're going to be talking about the digital library. The digital library is all about our leadership and the things that we want to train our leaders in. And I think what Pastor Matt showed earlier about the different churches, the number of churches we have to develop our leadership more and more and more. John Maxwell said everything rises and falls on leadership, and I think that is going to be the biggest thing that we've got to address in Go Church. If we want to plant churches and we want to grow and we want to see things happen, everything rises and falls on leadership, as we all know. But what is and why do we want to have a digital library? Well, like I said, digital library is a place where we can all get leadership skills to upskill ourselves and also the people who are in our teams and in our churches. And why? Well, everything rises and falls on leadership. And when I was thinking about this, when it came up, was that in my job, I go to all the Tesco stores, and you might think good or bad about Tesco members of staff, but they have like a training program that everyone has to do. So when they go to a different location, they know what standard they have to do everything by. And I think it's a really good thing that if we do have a digital leadership thing going on in Go Church, we know if anyone's coming to speak or anyone's coming to do something, we are to a certain standard as a church. We don't want to, what was that saying earlier? Fire advertise itself? Or no, what was it? What did you say? Was that right? You don't have to advertise fire. we want leadership to be a whole new level, don't we? Because we want to go further. So what I want to just quickly ask you guys to do is just separately in Go Church Manchester, Go Church Beirut, Go Church Liverpool, Go Church Bradford, if you can come together somehow, really quick for 3 minutes or so, and just quickly discuss what leadership things you are doing as a team or you're planning to do, and what things are you using to upskill your leaders, upskill yourself. Is there a growth track? What are the things that are you doing to do that at the moment? And then we'll come back together and we'll just move a little bit further on. But so what are you doing as a church to upskill your leaders? So let's move around.
Leave it on the meter.
We were told to get into church.
Oh, by church.
Because in half an hour. So I'm going to meet
Okay. So you'll be back, yeah?
Come to us.
What can we do to be a
Come to us. We get the stuff.
Walk us through this.
Get the future facilitators. Yes. Big Daddy.
Yeah, right.
So what was the question?
So what? I'm so glad you listened. So what leadership things are we doing in Liverpool? So we've got getting a grip on the basics, get people foundationally level. Yes, definitely.
On the basics, multiple different things on.
Yeah.
So like we're currently running the basics and we're currently running generous living or getting a grip.
Yeah, on Zoom. Yeah.
So they run at the same time. We
Yeah.
skip Zooms, and we keep tagging Beth joins in, and she keeps reposting them.
Then we do 5 dysfunctions.
We're doing such Timothy.
So Timothy first.
Research of Timothy. This.
And then at the beginning, what we do is what comes in and start.
Yeah. So walking to the church, first steps. Okay.
Yeah. So it's like a growth track. It's
So
like
leadership training doesn't start when someone goes, "Oh, I'm a wonderful leader." It starts right at the very start.
This is our process.
Right. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
We have our monthly.
Craig Michelle.
We use Craig Michelle. And this is like good old Craig. Yeah. And so we use with each thing, it's always done with like a host that's done it before. So like the getting a grip on the basics ones, we have a host with each of the groups. It was a video.
Face to face.
Yeah, we did, yeah. So we got people to go away and watch it and then come together and discuss it. So we did that.
People don't like as much because they don't have as much time. That's, in their mind, that's 2 time periods in a week.
Yeah.
Because if you do it at once, it's 1. And then doing it online also enables like couples to do it with kids. Because we were thinking like if we join a church and they said to do this, only one of us could do it because we have a kid. So only one of us will be able to go to us. So and we have our monthly team meetings, and the first half an hour of it is Matt Beaver's team training. So we're part of
3 minutes, isn't it? Yeah. Okay.
Okay. If you all had enough time? Is that all right? Okay, can we just really quickly, just if we go to different churches, what we all each do. So, Manchester, what do you guys do for your leadership?
Okay, it's a good question. Okay, so our main focus has actually been the core in the last couple of years, raising them up. And I think our main focus has been empowering. So we've been looking at how do we empower them, give them more responsibility. They do it, not us, but we've been very intentional with our feedback.
Correct.
And that has worked really, so I'm doing the practical first. That's worked really, really well. we all, and obviously the 3 leaders are doing the Quest training at the moment. And all our core is discipled either by Alan, myself, Mark or Simone. So all the core are being discipled. We're trying to model that downwards. Is there a leadership track that somebody can follow? That's actually what we're currently working on now. We've empowered the core. So we're looking at how we bring that into our grow groups. Do you remember that, the DNA teaching?
Yeah.
Okay, so we're actually looking at recording that so that we have built on the rock, leadership training. Everyone is encouraged to do In Search of Timothy. We have, and then going further up, we now do monthly mentoring with Mark and Simone. And Mark's finished Rayma, Simone's doing Rayma, and we've got potentially 2 other leaders who are going to do Rayma that we are supporting doing that. And then
But that was a real, when we went to Brazil and the church that we'd visited 7 years ago, and they were celebrating the people that were doing Rayma. So the similar sized church had over 20 people studying Rayma.
Wow. Wow.
It was the normal part of their leadership training.
That's awesome. Wow.
Yeah, so we really need to start doing it.
Yeah, okay. Awesome. Okay, so Bradford.
And then-
Oh, sorry.
No,
Sorry.
I was just going to say Craig Rochelle.
And Craig
we
Rochelle.
listen
Yeah.
to.
Awesome. Okay, cool. Bradford, that's a bit different for you guys, but what did you
All
play
our
again?
years together. Yeah, Kenny said they've been doing up till the transition. They were going through that together.
Yeah, the videos. Yeah, good.
And then we've talked about onboarding with the growth track, implementing the growth track coming out for the church and coming people. Sam, your idea was good, didn't you?
Well, one thing that I've been blessed with in Compassion, where I also do ministry stuff, is that you don't just do like a leadership podcast. We do a leadership podcast, or we read a chapter in a book, but then the power comes in talking about it and having a roundtable discussion.
Yeah.
So when you're verbalising something, it's internalising it.
Yeah, right.
So you grow off what other people have shared and learned as well. It's a really
That's good.
powerful way of doing it.
Really good. Yeah. Awesome. Cool. Okay. Beirut.
So everything we do is to shape leadership culture, the way we model things, the way we talk, everything's about the culture as a primary foundation. We have, in the church, we have the growth track, we call it the foundation stone, which is ABC's Alpha Basics called together, and then In Search of Timothy for all who serve. I-Go is kind of like our discovery journey. Discover if you're to go with Go Church, and if so, discover the Go gifting in you. Why are you to go with Go Church?
Yeah.
Then we do a monthly First Friday team training that we encourage all our leadership to come to as much as they can or watch by video afterwards. And in that, there's that portal that we push out things all the time. So each month we try to focus on something and build, just building. My aim is once a month, you can only do so much. And everything we do, we encourage self-feeding, self-growing, all of that, constantly making room for that and encouraging that it's a cultural thing. It's like if you're not a self-feeder, you're not going to make it here. And we try to cultivate that in everybody. But so there's that ability to be able to go back for people to do that. So what happens is new people, a lot of times you point them to that and they go through the process to catch them up, go through the stuff that's online. And then my aim is, once a month isn't that great, one is to introduce a subject and then do podcasts related to that. We do, hopefully we can introduce that by the end of the year, that's connected to the First Friday team training. But like as an example, all the Raymond directors meetings, what we did is this month we did a debrief on that for the people that were a part of that. Not everybody attended, so the ones that didn't attend, they're kind of like, wow, we missed out a lot. And like, don't worry, it's all available online. You can go watch it and catch up. And that's available to everybody here as well. Quest is the way we develop our student ministries leadership. Raymond Bible Training College Lebanon, which is yet to start, but the aim of that is that's how we train all ministry. We don't want to replicate what Raymond does in the church. We want that to be our path, just like you said in Brazil. It's like we should expect everybody in leadership, everybody who's being trained to plant churches, et cetera, to go through that, make room for it. We have our monthly lead groups for all our grow group leaders, and of course, in grow groups, people are leading and in activating leadership. There's constant exposure to learn by doing and coaching. Learn by doing and coaching, learn by doing and coaching. So we ask people to do things that they don't think they can do. We help set them up for success, and we coach them through the process until they're like, I can do this and I can help somebody else do it. And then we have our 2-year leadership missionary pipeline called Go Beyond.
Awesome.
I think that's it.
Awesome. Okay, cool. Great. And then Liverpool. I know what I'm doing, but you can just say.
So we are trying to see people, the leadership training is starting from the moment that we see them, not from the moment that they go, I want to be a leader, but actually when they come in.
Yes.
If you are called to be a leader, then you're called to be a leader from the moment you're in. So we have to have processes that take people from wherever they are through to positional leadership. So we include Alpha, getting a grip on the basics, and getting a grip on the other subjects of getting a grip that we can use as a tool. We do In Search of Timothy, 5 Dysfunctions as a team. Then we use Craig Rochelle for spot training, as it were.
That's good.
We use Pastor Matt's once a month First Friday training. That's open to the whole church, and we condense it into a half-hour Zoom. And we encourage people to do Rhema, and then you also have serving on a team, one-to-ones, and feedback and that kind of stuff.
Awesome. So,
Like we do it, but we don't do it all at once. It's not all running all the time, because that sounds like we do a lot. And there's like 2 things running at a time, and then you have to wait for the cycle to come back round for the next thing.
Yeah. So we all do leadership training, right? We all do leadership training. And I think that takes us to the question of this digital library is, are we wanting to create a digital library that goes across the board? Are we wanting to have a platform or something where we can all dive into that is the same quality of training for our leaders across the board as Go churches? And when I was speaking to Pastor Matt about it, it was down for us to do the same thing. And I was like, oh yeah, this would be amazing. Why don't we get films and we'll do podcasts and we'll do this and this. And this is the picture I had in my head. I was like, that'd be awesome. And then Pastor Matt was like, yeah, you don't realise how long that sort of takes and have a bit of realistic expectations. And he was talking to me about how he was doing some things on some Rhema stuff, and it took him over 200 hours to just put some training together. And I was like, oh my goodness, I feel like I don't have 2 hours some days, not 200. So like, we need to be realistic. So if that's something that we want to do, and I think we've spoken about this in the last meeting, that we want to do that, to have something, a leadership digital library, if we want to dive in and out and have it almost like a growth track, as if we want to do it, we've got to make it from the impossible to possible. We've got to make it realistic expectations. We need to have a look at our human resources, our financial resources, our time resources, and I think as a body of churches, we're all like, we've got loads on. So I think if we're going to do it and we want to do it, then we've got to go, okay, what are we doing and what's out there for us to be able to make the most of what other people have done? And I think we're all doing that now, but do we want to come together and go, right, so this is just like a proposal putting out there saying, what do we want to do? Do we want to do that? Do we not? And what may that look like? So I just want to put some things out to you. And we've said most of these things already. And once I finish, I'll pass over to you, Pastor Matt, if you want to add anything. I want to show you some things that we do that are happening. We've said most of them already, but the things we could use is like the first Friday Pastor Matt's training. It's a 1-hour training. But if we wanted to develop that as a church later down the road, we could turn it into podcasts, like Pastor Matt said, like they do in Beirut. They do the teaching once a month, and then they have podcasts throughout it. So why don't we have leadership? We could use something like Pastor Matt's thing, and then do podcasts from different people. Not straight away, because obviously human resources, time resources, but we could do something like that, which would really embrace us all as a leadership, training our people. And that also just shows that family of churches working together to enable each other to do some things. And Pastor Matt was also talking to me when we were talking about other resources that we've had, and we've all spoken about them. Other resources out there, which I think we've said all of them, is Alpha, In Search of Timothy, Dr. Araki, I don't know if I've spelled his name right or wrong, I don't know. Was it right or wrong? I don't know. 5 Dysfunctions, Getting a Grip on the Basic, Pastor Matt's Leadership, we just said, Quest, Craig Rochelle podcast. So there's so many different things we can use for a leadership training or leadership digital library that are out there, and it's up to us what we want to do. Do we want to put our leaders in a certain direction, and what can we learn from others to teach our people? And I think a great way of doing this, what Pastor Matt was saying, was a Google Drive or something. Because it makes it accessible to us, right?
Yeah.
We just need to just go to one place, it's all on there, and we can go, right, what do we need today? Or what does this person need to grow in? Does this person need to grow in teaching skills or self-control or this or that? Okay, Google Drive, let's check on this subject. That would be awesome for them. I'm going to put that. Because it's a great place to have safe teaching for each one of us to develop our people. Like going back to what I was saying about the Tesco staff, if you want to rate Tesco staff or not, but they have a certain standard of training they give to all their staff, and they have to do it. So with us, do we want our leaders to be a certain standard? So across the board, not in just one church, because we're a family church working together. And if we did that, we'd need someone to oversee it. And I think in conversations, it would be good not to have someone from Manchester, because you guys do everything. So it would be good to have sort of like, you don't have to have someone else doing something else. So maybe someone else in the family of church is doing it.
Well volunteered, man.
Yeah, I'm happy to put things together. I don't mind. I can do that. I don't mind doing it. So I think this will be a great way of doing stuff. And then a task force. This is what I think of a task force. I know people think of like task forces and doing stuff. Like I love army stuff, so why not? And and the person on the right is Fiona. I dressed her up just for this picture. She is there. That is her. There in the uniform. No, it's not really, obviously. But we could create a task force, and the task force to create a strategy to research, to bring proposals to us about e-learning, about how to have a platform to do this digital library. For now, we can use Google Drive. We can say, right, this is where it's at. But in the future, do we want to keep it at that place, or do we want to have it on an e-learning platform where we can have something like an onboarding thing, where we can say, okay, you've come to Go Church, now here's, I don't know, for example, success factors, and you can work through X, Y, and Z, and you can work through it and they can upskill themselves. And that means we can see what our leaders are doing as well. So that would be good.
Love it.
And Fiona, as you can see there, she's kitted out for the job. She knows her stuff on e-learning. So why not use someone who knows that? I mean, she might say no, but you never know. If you don't ask, you don't get, right? So
That's so good.
So we could do that sort of thing. But other than that, going from a real like manly to a thing with bits of fern on it or whatever. That's it, whatever it is. What do you guys think? Would you think it would be good for us to have a digital library where it's similar across the board, where we start off simple, where we can put all these different things into one place, and we can have everything like named and we could just point people to different things, even create growth tracks out of it, and then in the future doing something different. Just want to open up for discussion, what everyone thinks.
Can I say something? For Clinton 40 and Go Church Beirut, a Google Drive has transformed our lives. Transformation. It's been so good. So I highly recommend everything from our training to applications to all of this. I think it would be brilliant to have a Google Drive.
Awesome.
I can't recommend it, I know.
I think Julie might like Google Drive. Getting that impression.
I'm putting one together right this second, and I'm inviting all of you in. I can't handle it, but I think I can set it up because it's quite easy.
Cool. So at the beginning, when you were saying about what you wanted to, the impossible idea of you suggesting and producing your own leadership subject stuff that you wanted to teach or whatever.
Yeah, like when I first did it, I was like, oh, it'd be amazing to get like different location pastors to do
say,
things.
you can, like you obviously do it in
Is that what you do on the Friday thing? Is that one of the things that you?
Well, that's pretty low entry level because it's just a Zoom. It's the preparation time ahead of time.
Yeah.
But to curate something that can be produced, like properly, filmed and edited and stuff, I did one subject that has 25 to 15-minute videos. It took me probably 200 hours of preparation and 3 full days of filming, and then another 1,000 hours of editing afterwards to do it properly. So
all I was going to say, it depends on the level that you want to go to.
Yeah.
But if you were teaching the team on stuff, or in your church you're doing leadership, depending on where, if you want to go on what you want to do, sort of streaming good quality stuff, you don't have to do lots of the work afterwards. If you get it right in the first recording, you can do it live.
Yeah.
And then it just depends how.
That works great. Like, there's a camera up there we saw, and this could have been filmed. These sessions, you guys do a phenomenal job. Arnie, you're incredibly articulate when you communicate. I love listening to you talk and share. And like that, we should be, just like the Raymond directors, we should be capturing some of these things, because even if you take out of it, editing just clips of it, they can be put into little, things that we push out through different media, things. But once you capture it, you can then use it. So there is low entry levels, but I was like, if we had one action point, what could it be? And what's the lowest amount of work to produce the greatest amount of return? Yeah.
But there is a lot of great stuff out there where you don't have to do a lot of that.
Exactly, yeah.
Podcasting.
Yeah.
Yeah, I really like the idea of having a library that we can. I really like the idea of having a library with resources in it. Can we point our church members to it to find it, or do we have to then show them where it is? Because that's what I would like. I'd like to be able to go, I'm sitting talking with so-and-so, and I realise that they need this. Somebody has done that, and I can say, hey, if you access this, you will find this.
Yeah.
Because in which case you could do selected parts of Craig Groeschel's ones are, but how do you do that? Because actually he owns it rather than...
It's super easy. You just take it and send the person a link and ask them to watch it and say you'll discuss it afterwards. That's what we do like with the first Friday training or any other things. We're like, okay, the Zoom goes online and into its folder, and then we post that, here's the resources, and it has the notes, it has the Zoom recording, it has any extra resources that went with it. And that's all available in that folder.
But that's your teaching as opposed to Craig Groeschel's teaching.
No, as an example, all the this last March, all the directors meetings, so I don't own any of that, it's a directors meeting. We just created a Word document, directors meeting with the links on it.
Gotcha.
Then we push into that, and so if we have a Zoom discussion, and we say, all you have to do is go to that folder, and you'll find all the information you want, and it has the schedule, it has all the links, and they just click on the links, and they can go through it.
You can WhatsApp that over to a person, can't you? Yeah.
The other thing is Beth Jones' stuff. That getting a grip on the basics, what she's done. It's a long, it's 26 sessions, but it's fantastic teaching, absolutely. And I think, to be honest, every person in the church should do it.
Yeah,
and
100%.
you can either do it where you discuss it as a group, which is really great, or an individual could do. They're only 25 to so minutes long, and somebody with a bigger capacity can get through it quicker. The question then is how we measure. So from a lead, and this is where I think Fiona comes in, from a point of view of e-learning. If we've got a track that we want our leaders to go through, we want you to do this, 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 and this. How do we know that they've done it, and to track them? That would be something. I think that's where the Fiona piece would come in. So that we can track it. But there are, using resources like that, I think is brilliant. Craig Groeschel is brilliant. In Manchester at the moment, we're looking at recording for our grow groups. So Alan's about to record in Christ Jesus and do a short course on that.
Awesome. So that could be added to it. That would be.
So we're looking at things like that.
Yeah, and that's deliberately going to be a half hour split into 10-minute slots, so there's a question in the middle, but it's deliberately recorded so that it can be used in a grow room.
That's great.
And, you know, initially won't have lots of editing, but it might then have a bit more.
That's the other thing about a drive, is you can have like all the messages, all the artwork can be put up for all the people's series that they've done. You know, you can have like ministry notes and series, and you have a folder for each one. I mean, you know, you have all those resources that can be available for everybody in a shared drive. You know, we were talking about outreach tools like risk assessments and admin tools and stuff. There can be all that, a folder that has all that stuff in the drive. So in the drive, we can create not just the tools for leadership development, but even all the other things that we need, and it's super easy to do.
Manuals.
We just need a person who's the champion of it that will curate it and make sure everything's named right and all that as it gets sent to people. And so that's an important role for that drive.
That was the other thing I was thinking about is, so during lockdown, when because of having the Iranians in our church, we had to write our sermon notes in full, because so that we could give them to the translator who could translate along. It's just the way it worked out better to do that. So we've got all these sermon series sitting in our Dropbox that could be whacked in, that other people could go, oh, I could do that, and you've got all the notes already with all the scriptures, everything. So, and I'm sure everybody here has got things they'll be prepared to share, you know, and to have that would be brilliant.
Dropbox is so difficult, whereas
No, not in Dropbox, I'm saying in this, whatever we do new.
No, what I'm saying is Dropbox to me is so difficult to navigate, but the Google Drive for me is very simple.
Right.
So if I can navigate it and put stuff in it as well easily, I think everybody else would be able to enjoy it as much as I do.
There's no difference between Google and Dropbox.
They function pretty different.
No, they're not. They've changed it. So you can choose whether to download.
I've worked with both, and I find the drive much better.
Don't worry about it. Does Google Drive have a limit? Capacity?
And they all have limits you can pay extra for.
Pay extra for it.
It's pretty robust.
Yeah.
So I think the question is, would we want to proceed with it? Would we want to proceed with having a digital library, do you think?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, awesome.
Action. Barney's to oversee it. Oh, sorry.
Who votes for Barney?
Barney, do you know how to do the Google Drive?
Can I make a recommendation?
You know how to do the Google Drive, yeah?
I can upskill myself in it. I don't know, but I can learn it very easily, I'm sure.
Good start.
Yeah, so here's the thing, that if we all agree that there's a need for it, and the main thing, catalyst to make it work is a person, then what do we do? What do we do for something, a situation like that? What's our step?
Find a person.
Yeah.
Volunteer whoever's not here.
What?
I said volunteer whoever's not
I
here.
thought you almost said that. What would be the first step? Yes. And the first thing, a job description, and then what do you do once you have a role or a job description or responsibility? Then what's the second step? Promote it, make it available. And that's, I mean, everything we do, we need to think that way. It means so that it's not one person doing the work, it's one person might be responsible to champion it. And here's the steps that are needed. I need to have a defined purpose, job description. This is what we're looking for, someone who will, you know, create this and curate this, and then it's push it out through all the churches, and someone in the different pastors, I think this person might be interested. This person might be interested, you know, who is it? And then bring him into this, and then there's that person that's championing it, that can be the person that works with that person across the family.
Do we all get to upload to it, or have a folder where we put it in the folder and let that person organize it as they see fit?
I think the idea is you would have maybe a discussion with how best to organize things. You know, some different people like Mark, or you know, different people like what are the outcomes, what are the things, and then I think that's really smart, because you have a particular place that people.
Shared everybody one
Upload folder.
Somebody approving. I guess I got this in the transition, there was a Go Church Leadership folder, and it's all listed by speakers, Patrick Lencioni, Jim Dawes, Dr. Racky. Not everything has something in it, but it's like a start. But it's not by topic, it's by name. So that's one way to do it, where you pick a topic.
And it's in Google Drive.
Is it, yeah.
Yeah.
Probably Jen. Yeah.
Jen, she's not here. She didn't get her.
That's why I was a representative.
Okay, so in how we're moving forward with this then, shall I try and make a job description from here, and then put some ideas, put it out to you guys, see what you guys think. If you're happy with it, then we can push it through the churches, and then we can try and find someone who can act, or a team that can do the stuff, and then we can organise it and go from there.
Yeah.
Love it.
Okay,
Great
awesome.
idea.
Well, I'll do that, and I'll get back to everyone. Do you want to share anything else about it?
No, you did a great job.
Okay.
Woo!
All right.
So much cooler than everyone else. Well done.
What?
He does have a cool flag there.
Everyone else. He's the coolest.
Okay, so, thank you everybody who's contributed today. We're going to press the stop button, is that right now?
Once you've finished, or have you finished?
Well, you can press the stop button now.
Oh, it's
We're back tomorrow.
It's disappeared.
We're back tomorrow.
Jerry.
Slightly different start time.